Well, welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, where we've been talking about the fundamentals of aircraft insurance, and specifically in recent episodes about kind of how to read an aircraft insurance policy. We talked about the acronym DICE, that most policies in general terms have a declarations page or section, and insuring agreements sections, conditions and exclusions, along with definitions and endorsements. And today, I wanted to touch just a little more on the conditions section of the policy. And to do that, I want to use the IRMI, the Insurance Risk Management Institute definition of conditions. The policy conditions is the section of an insurance policy that identifies general requirements of an insured and the insurer on matters such as loss reporting and settlement, property valuation, other insurance, subrogation rights, and cancellation and non-renewal. The policy conditions are usually stipulated in the coverage form of the insurance policy. So essentially, the conditions establish those responsibilities for both the insured and the insurance company in order for all the policy provisions to apply in the event of a loss. So it's important to know what these conditions are. Some key ones that are found in most aircraft insurance policies is the timely notice of an occurrence, claims, or suit. This is generally pretty early in the conditions section. In the event of a loss, a claim, an occurrence, a suit, here are the insured's duty, and it generally is to provide a timely notice, right? What's timely? That's usually not defined. They generally talk about not assuming liability and then doing anything possible to prevent further loss, not to abandon the asset or aircraft. So again, that is something very important to have. That's another good reason to carry the policy on you on the aircraft. If you're in this particular circumstance, is to know what is necessary in the event of a loss. The insured's duties are important because if you do not comply, then a policy condition would be violated, which if it led to a loss that the insurance company wouldn't have to pay, could potentially result in a denial of claim or reduction of the loss payment. The cancellation provisions are typically in there for many policies. That's 30 days notice of cancellation, and other than the event of non-payment of premium, which is 10. In some cases, those might be altered. Another important one states that fraud or misrepresentation. Most policies will say that this policy will be void from its inception date in the case of any fraud, attempted fraud, false swearing, or misrepresentation of any material fact or circumstance by you, the insured, as to anything about this insurance. So when the insurance policy is written, there are applications and questions, or if information has been withheld and they wouldn't have written that or written that at the premium they did, that could result in a denial of coverage, invalidating the policy, and so on and so forth. That's definitely a condition that you want to pay attention to. Jurisdiction issues, some legal things could be under the conditions section. Who can change the policy? What constitutes changing the policy? What happens if there are more than one aircraft? This talks about the rights of recovery or subrogation rights in the event of a loss. It may clarify some loss processes. For instance, if the insured and the insurance company do not agree on a loss settlement, the appraisal process of each person hiring, their own appraiser and then getting an impartial umpire to settle it. All those things are stated in the conditions section. And generally, you'll find a severability of interest clause saying that this policy and the legal defense will apply separately to each insured on the policy. However, that does not change the policy limit, which is an important thing to know. So if you have a named insured or 5 named insureds, or a named insured and 6 additional insureds, the insurance company has a separate interest to give each one of those insureds, so a separate legal defense. However, that does not increase the policy limit, the limits of liability or terms on the policy. Meaning if you have $1 million limit, instead of having $1 million limit for one insured, you just have $1 million limit for how many ever insureds are part of the policy, meaning policy limits could be extinguished pretty quickly. So obviously it's not great to have a whole lot of additional insureds. Anyway, this is the type of information you find in the conditions sections. The general liability, aviation general liability policy has some similar and some unique conditions that you want to pay attention to. Each policy may be a little bit different. That's the thing about aviation insurance. While the overall forms have some resemblance and overall structure that is similar, at the end of the day, they are all different and have some differences, albeit some mild, some maybe a 1 or 2 word differences that completely transform the coverage. So that's a little bit more on the conditions section of an aircraft insurance policy. And we will continue to dive deeper into an insurance policy and its aspects in upcoming episodes. But that's all for this week. Join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance. Until then, enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share it with someone who would benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any new episodes, and to help our show have more impact. This episode is brought to you by Aeris Insurance Solutions, your flight plan for navigating the turbulence of aviation insurance. For more information, visit aerosinsurance.com. That is www.aerisinsurance.com. Disclaimer: these episodes are for educational purposes only, and due to the changing regulatory and legal nature of the business, some information may change over time. Having a well-educated and experienced aviation insurance broker on your team is an absolute requirement to success in business and for managing your aircraft and aviation business risks.